Stokes never confirmed he was coming, but Rhonda from Bishop Van said he was coming. So
Okay. Wait a few more minutes for him.
Can you give us a countdown before
Yeah.
we go?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yep. Okay. We're just waiting for actually one more executive committee member to get here who confirmed. So thank you for your patience. 2 minutes. You'll be here in 2 minutes. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay.
But normally it doesn't start till he gets there. What's the fourth guy? This is Trey. One backpack more. I have just been told. Okay, now I'm ready to go. WJBK checking the audio. 1, 2, 3. Good.
so much, everybody, for your patience. I think we're ready to get started. You want to flank it a little bit? Use the PowerPoint a little bit today, Bishop Ann, so if some of you want to go over there, it's going to be more, and then we're going to have some more. You can still go there, but you want to stay there? It's up to you. Oh, they came in that way. They ain't follow me. Y'all didn't follow me.
You need some more people on
I
this
said
side.
follow me. Y'all did not follow me. All right.
Lots of blue on that side. Balance it out.
You want me to count down, guys? Count down? I'm good? All right. Good afternoon. Thank you again for your interest in what we believe is important work to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Detroit. As we mentioned when we rolled out our One Detroit Violence Reduction Partnership summer strategy, we said we would be transparent about our work. And that is the purpose of this press conference today, to report out about the results of our work over the summer. And so we're very grateful for your interest in this. As we said, the summer strategy was just part of our violence reduction partnership, that we have been doing this work in the city, throughout the city of Detroit, this collaboration to focus on the right people, the most violent offenders, the most violent places, and the most violent groups, and that we will incorporate both punishment and prevention. And so we have done that in a formalized way under our One Detroit Violence Reduction Partnership. And that includes the 3 pillars of enforcement, prevention, and reentry. And we'd love to share those results with you of what we did over the summer in that regard. First of all, the strategy called for violent offenders arrested in the 2 most violent precincts, the 8th and the 9th precinct, would be subjected to federal prosecution. Those who were carrying firearms with obliterated serial numbers would be subjected to federal prosecution. Those arrested with semi-automatic weapons would be subjected to federal prosecution. Armed carjackings or robberies of businesses were also subject of federal prosecution. And any individual with a meaningful relationship to the 8th and 9th precinct who committed some of these violent crimes would also be subjected to federal prosecution. That is our summer enforcement policy and our 3 pillars there. Under prevention, I'm going to start with that because we believe, as the One Detroit Partnership, that for every at-risk person that we deter from committing a violent crime makes the community safer. We believe that for every returning citizen that we remove barriers and allow them to be productive citizens makes the community safer. And we also believe that we have to take care of these violent offenders through our enforcement. And so under prevention, I am happy to report that our goal was deterrence, that we engaged directly with community members in the community to try to effectuate deterrence. And that we did so by warning them, first of all, and you have it in your packet, a letter that we sent that was signed by all of the One Detroit executive team members that we sent to people on probation, under federal supervised release, under state probation, warning them, stop the shooting, put down your guns, here are the consequences. But we also told them that you don't have to accept those consequences if you change your ways, that we have ways to help you and that we're here to do that. And so we had that letter sent out to those folks. It also included a peace pledge that you can find on our website at the U.S. Attorney's Office under our One Detroit Violence Reduction Partnership logo. In addition, One Detroit Partners went door to door. I think some of you may have seen me and the deputy mayor out telling people about our peaceniks so that people could be made aware of all that we were doing to provide them choices to make the right choice. So we had our peaceniks, and those were our community gatherings that were non-enforcement gatherings between law enforcement and the community. And it also included so many vendors providing support and resources to the community so that people can have an opportunity to make a better choice. And we know that over 5,000 community people attended the peaceniks this year, and we are so excited about that engagement. We were so excited about it. This is at Hellman, I believe. That's me and the mayor and the deputy mayor. And that is our ceasefire and our commanders and representation Kim Miles from the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. So our enforcement, let's talk about that. What did we do? I told you the category of cases that we were taking under federal prosecution, and we did just that. We worked with ATF, DEA, FBI to focus on the right cases, to reduce violent crime in high-risk areas. We collaborated and triaged the cases right there at the precincts so that we would know immediately which cases that we would take federally and which cases that we would take the state. And so we report out now that we prosecuted federally 22 defendants, felon in possession of a firearm, illegal possession of a machine gun, possession of a stolen firearm, and another one for possession of firearm with an obliterated serial number. 13 of those defendants were detained pending trial. 3 defendants have already pleaded guilty, and 18 defendants are pending trial in those cases. Those are the cases that we took federally to help reduce the violence in Detroit, in the 8th and 9th precinct. Under our reentry, we're so excited about what we were able to do over the summer with our returning citizens. We had several roundtables that our goal was to, again, prevent recidivism, to equip them with the tools they need to be productive and not recidivate, and because that, again, makes the community safer. So we're committed to that goal as well. And so what we did was we had 50 returning citizens sit in roundtable discussions with other justice impact individuals and with returning citizens who serve as our partners and influencers, if you will, to help us to support those folks. We also invited their family members so that their family members could know ways in which they can support them in the effort of being productive. And we also had there, again, support resources and resources so that they could talk to folks and try to get the resources they need to remove barriers of them for them to succeed. One of Detroit partners with employment needs and helped connect attendees with resources. So we again are operating under our pillars of reentry, enforcement, and prevention. And so what do we have here? So we got some good numbers, encouraging numbers, but we want to emphasize, we know that we have so much more work to do, but the fact of the matter is we won't stop. We won't stop doing this work until we can even make these numbers better. But we're encouraged by the numbers we have here. We saw that in precinct number 8 during the same period last year, June 1st and August 31st, 70 fewer people were victims of crime. 70 fewer in the 8th precinct. In the 9th precinct, 49 fewer people were victims of violent crime. Let me make that clear, of violent crimes. And we think that's something to be celebrated. Not that it's all the work we have to do, but it is something to be celebrated because everybody, every one of those 70 in 8th precinct and the 49 in the 9th precinct, everybody counts. Every family that didn't have to suffer through the grief and stress of having lost someone through violence counts. And we want to make sure that we celebrate saving some lives. And so there was an 18% overall reduction in fatal and non-fatal shootings in our enforcement areas in the 8th and 9th precinct. That means that 14 fewer gunshot victims, because a non-fatal shooting is just a murder that didn't happen. And so we are happy about those results. We're very happy about those results because, again, everybody matters in this as far as reducing violent crime, and everybody that suffers from violence counts. That's what happened. We had 119 fewer victims of crime between last year and this year, 119. That's something worth celebrating, and we're happy to do that. Homicides between January 1st and September 1st of this year, and I want you to know that this reflects what I'm talking about. We just didn't do this in the summer. We've been committed to this work and collaborating and partnering in this way to help reduce violence all over the city, just not in the 8th and the 9th. The 8th and the 9th are our most violent, and we put a particular focus on them during the summer. But we are doing this work and will continue to do this work. And from last year and this year, we have 25 fewer homicides in the city of Detroit. From 2021, we have 34 fewer homicides, and then 18 fewer from 2020. But of course, we know 2020 was the year of COVID. So we are making progress. When it comes to non-fatal shootings between that same period, as we know, a non-fatal shooting is potentially a murder. And so between from last year to this year, 65 fewer non-fatal shootings, potential murders, 166 fewer non-fatal shootings from 2021. And again, a number, 157 fewer non-fatal shootings from 2020. Our work continues. But to date, we have 9.2% fewer, 9.2% reduction in homicides. And you know those percentages? I said I want to talk the numbers, and it's 20 fewer victims, and that matters. That counts. That counts for families. That counts for the victims. That counts for their families. That counts for other people around them. And so I want everyone to know that if it's 1 or 21, 1 or 1,001, everybody counts. And so we had 20 fewer victims of homicide and 60 fewer victims of non-fatal shootings. And we should be proud of that, even though we know we have work to do. And what is that work? We will continue in this vein of working together in this partnership and triaging cases to determine which cases should go federally, which cases should go state, and that this collaboration will continue under the One Detroit Violence Reduction Partnership. And just like we're reporting out to you, we're going to the communities most affected by it and report out to them as well. We promise to be transparent about our work, and we agree to do that. So on September 30th, we'll be on the east side in that community because it's about that community, and we want to report out to them. And just like you're going to ask us questions, we're going to invite them to ask us questions too. And we're also going to have some, again, additional non-enforcement engagement with them. And so we're doing that on the east side on September 30th. We're doing that on the west side on October 14th, and we're calling them community huddles. And there's going to be a peace march that's going to follow, and we're going to celebrate the lives saved at that peace march. We are still going to mourn those who died, but we're also going to celebrate the lives that were saved through our efforts and the community efforts, because I don't want to leave out the community in this. They were engaged and they are engaged, and we want to keep that engagement going so that we can help them and help everybody. Everybody can help one another to improve the quality of life in the community. And so we're excited about that. Our other plan is to have public safety forums where, again, the community can talk to us, ask questions. We can try to determine trends. We know that we have to keep on tweaking this and keep on trying to make it better to the best of our ability. And we will continue. We are committed to doing that. And so we will have those, and we will announce those dates in the future. But in the near future, our community huddles and peace marches will be September 30th. In addition to that, we will continue to determine which are the best precincts we should be in. As you already know, we were in 5 precincts, and we've been in 5 precincts. And when I say we, I mean ATF, FBI, DEA, along with state and local partners, triaging cases right there in the 5 precincts. We've added the 2nd precinct because as we try to ramp down crime in the 8th and 9th precinct, then it spiked in the 2nd precinct. And you know what? We're going to follow it. We're going to follow it and do the same thing and address the violence there as well. And we will continue to have review of our non-fatal shootings and report out and give you the numbers as we promise. We promise to be transparent about our work. We know we have more work to do. In addition to that, I wanted to talk about, again, the community roundtables. That has a typo in it. Community roundtables for returning citizens. September 27th and October 10th, we will again have those community roundtables for our returning citizens. Again, having them talk to other justice impacted folks who have who really work with us to operate as influencers and to help them to get resources. We will also have service providers there, and again invite their families so that they can learn ways in which they can support their returning citizen family members. Again, I want to thank this partnership. I want to thank everyone involved. We are One Detroit, and we are committed to improving it. Thank you so much. I think, Mayor, you next? Yeah.
I'm not sure if you haven't been covering this for a long time, you realize how unique this is. In most cities in the country, the U.S. Attorney, the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, they do a great job. They have their strategy. County prosecutor has their strategy. The police department has their strategy. If you're lucky, they're just uncoordinated. And if you're not lucky, they're working at cross purposes. Very rarely do you see a strategy that unifies the federal, the county, and the city police department. And when you see it usually in the country, it's in responses to a flurry of violence. A young child got killed. The folks all stand behind a podium. They call it Operation something. It goes on for 90 days. They flood a bunch of raids into an area. Violence goes down for a short period of time. And then over the next 6 to 12 months, it starts to go back up again. There have been only a few cities in America that have defied that trend. Boston, New York, Los Angeles, where they had years of coordination between the police department, the prosecutor, and the U.S. attorney. And if you look at what they did, they had 10% reduction the first year, 12% the second year, 9% the third year, 14% the fourth year. They did it year after year and stuck to the same strategy. And when that happens, you've got to change in the culture of the community, because you don't have a short-term blip. People are making different decisions. And so when U.S. Attorney Eisen came out last year and said, we're going to have one Detroit, we're going to take some of the most violent areas of the city, we're going to combine prevention and enforcement, and unified all of us, said this is going to be interesting to see. And we did well in the 8th and 9th precinct, but citywide a year ago, non-fatal shootings, as the U.S. Attorney showed you, were down 10%. And the chief and I were nervous because normally you drop 10% one year, you bounce back up the next year. Now we are on target to have another 10% reduction this year in the non-fatal shooting, 10% reduction in the homicides, 30% reduction in carjackings this year. But the true test to us is going to be 2024. And this is really going to decide whether this is a short-term blip or we're finally starting to change the level of violence in the city, because we need to show it'll happen year after year. And here's what I love. You aren't seeing a flavor of the month strategy. In 2022, the U.S. Attorney stood up and said, we're running one Detroit. Here's the prevention, here's the enforcement, here's the job opportunities, here's what happens if you don't follow them. And then in 2023, she stood up, same areas, same thing. And in 2024, we're going to stand up with the same strategy again. And when you start to have that kind of consistency, change in violence is a change in decisions. We got to get people to not commit the crime in the first place. And that means you got to be predictive, and you got to be predictable, and you got to be credible. And so when you start to see these numbers, you say maybe Detroit is finally at the inflection point that the New Yorks and the Bostons and the Los Angeles has discovered. The only way they happen is if we all stay together. And a lot of other folks have contributed. The county executive, Warren Evans, Sheriff Washington, the courts, a lot of people have pitched in. But at this point, the criminal element in this town knows exactly what the strategy is and what's coming, and we're starting to see changes in behavior. And I can't say enough about what the U.S. Attorney has done on these peaceniks, because the flip side of this is the community saying, we've had enough. We're going to participate in the prosecutions, and we've seen it over and over in this city. But that second peacenik on Saturday, it was, noon at Saturday, at 11:30, it is pouring rain. I barely got out of my house. I said, obviously it's canceled. I called my staff. I said, oh no, it's on. I said, well, all right, if the U.S. Attorney's going to stand out in the rain, I will be. Maybe it'll just be the two of us. I pull up. There are 500 people in the pouring rain under these tents, and they continued to come in as the afternoon went along, and they were working on games and doing drawings, and it was, I thought, a very powerful statement that people in Detroit are fed up with the violence. And if the leaders who are supposed to lead will do it, the people of this city will follow. And so to Prosecutor Worthy, and particularly to U.S. Attorney Eisen, 2 great years of success. As the chief knows, we get measured by what we do. And actually with that, I'd like to turn it over to the leader here in the city. You might remember the first week of April, we had a bunch of shootings. And he rolled out a strategy and said it's not going to happen the rest of the summer. And we've had a great summer on the riverfront in downtown. So I'll turn it over to Chief White.
Good afternoon, everybody. We've talked a lot about numbers, and that's what we really measure our success by. But to bring those numbers to life for us, I just want to take a second and talk about the numbers that Attorney Eisen U.S. Attorney Isom and our mayor talked about, and that's our criminal homicides. You know, we're down 20 criminal homicides for the city of Detroit at the end of the summer, which is amazing for us, and certainly looking at a 10% reduction on top of a 10% reduction last year. These numbers are amazingly encouraging. But we're talking about 20 people who weren't victimized. And to unpack that, 20 people whose families don't have to plan a funeral. 20 people who perhaps may have someone inside of that family who may choose to retaliate. So you may have a 30 number of homicides, an additional 3 or 4 homicides that reducing homicides by 20 may have prevented. So, you know, this partnership is absolutely amazing. I talk to my colleagues around the country almost daily. The IACP has given me an opportunity to talk to some incredible law enforcement minds. And we talk about what's happening with the U.S. Attorney in Detroit. We talk about the numbers. We talk about the fact that I have a mayor that was a former prosecutor, so I don't have to explain crime to him. And one of my buddies in Baltimore was joking the other day and said, "You have no excuses, and you've got a lot of things working in your favor." And he's absolutely right. I could not be more thankful to U.S. Attorney Dawn Isom, the Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy, Mayor Duggan, Mr. Stokes, Bishop Edgar Van, and I would be remiss if I did not thank the members of the Detroit Police Department who have completely embraced this strategy, along with our 12-point plan of all the things we're doing to keep our community safe. It has been absolutely welcome and appreciated. This is what collaboration looks like. You know, community engagement under the Peaceniks is incredible. The resources for jobs, it's not just a one-dimensional approach. It's not arresting your way out of crime. It's giving everybody a chance and a choice. And unfortunately, if they make the wrong choice for them, there's a very specific targeted enforcement activity that's really centered around those who are victimizing our community. So thank you. Thank you to this partnership. We've talked numbers, so I'm not going to waste anyone's time going back into the numbers. I'm sure it'll come up during Q&A. But I just want to say that I look forward to this collaboration. I do believe that Detroit has turned a corner on violence. We have a lot of work to do. No one's taking a victory lap right now. There's just still too much violence in our community. We see it day in and day out, but being able to be a part of this partnership certainly supports the fact that we're moving in the right direction. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And before we take questions, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up my team, all the hardworking folks who prosecute these cases and are in those precincts triaging the cases. So if I can have my members of my violent and organized crime group as well as general crimes, I see the chief back there. If you guys can come up so that you can stand up here while we take questions, please. Is Craig back there? And then also Luttrell for reentry. Anybody I'm missing? Anybody else out there? They're in trial. A lot of them are in trial, so they're doing the good work. So thank you so much. We'll take questions now. Thank you for your interest. Yes, ma'am.
Out of those 22 defendants that were federally charged in the 8 and 9 precinct, were any of those children, like under 18?
No, they were not juveniles. No. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. What's, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part, Mr. John. I just believe in second chances. And like I said, for every person that we make more productive really serves our purpose. That is the goal, to make the community safer. And if we make people productive and make them feel better about themselves and contribute in a productive way, I think that makes the community safer. So we will continue to do that. And I believe in second chances. I believe in second chances. Yes, sir.
Is there any indication that of those 22 that were charged that they knew of the enforcement program beforehand?
We announced it. It was in the paper, and we announced it on television. So we don't ask them that. We just, prosecute the case, investigate the case, and prosecute it. So I have no idea whether or not they were aware of it. But we did make it clear in press conferences like this, in a press release, as well as we went to the community relations councils in those precincts and announced it there too. So people in their neighborhood knew. And so whether or not they knew, I can't really answer that question.
Violent crimes down across the country for the most part.
Well, it didn't happen though, because we're in 2023, going into 2024, and that was 2019, right before it. We're trying to get to those numbers, but it didn't happen. They kept increasing. So we're just trying to reduce violence by any way plausible and use innovative ways to do that.
Go talk to Memphis and see how.
Right.
reverting
There's
to the
not.
mean is working out. I think they're up 40% this year. It is hard work to accomplish what's being accomplished. Go ahead, you go.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't follow all the cities, but I do know that violence is not down all across America. I do know that Detroit is not number one, okay? Detroit is not number one for homicides right now. Any other questions?
Mayor, comment on what it's like to have the stats going in the right direction at least.
You know, I don't know how these prosecutors do their job. I left the job as Wayne County prosecutor a year earlier to go to DMC. Part of it was I wanted to run the hospital. Part of it was I felt responsible every time. There was another shooting, another case of child abuse, and it ate away at me. I just admire the folks who can do this every day. And so to see the numbers go down means a lot to us. The chief and I talk 3 times a day. I think we have a feel for the trends. But I will tell you this, I will feel a lot differently in 2024. If it's still going down in 2024, it means we have really done something historic. But if you look at the first 2 years since the U.S. Attorney's initiated this, couldn't be more pleased with the first 2 years. And if we're standing here 1 year from now saying the same thing, I think for the first time, maybe that burden I feel for the moms that I have to talk to who have lost kids in the street, maybe they'll finally start to be lifted a little.
One more question for you, Bill, while you're there. Have you heard Jamie Dimon's comments about from the president and how he hopes for that to happen?
Yeah, and I'm really hopeful that the current president is back because we need Dawn Eisen for 4 more years here. So I'm in favor of that. But I saw Jamie this